You are listening to the Learn English Through Football podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show for all those who love the beautiful game of football and who want to improve their English language skills. My name is Damien, and I hope you're all well and enjoying good weather like we are here in London. I wonder what the weather is like in Tokyo, where the other member of the Language Caster team, Damon, is based. Now, apologies to our listeners as we did not have a podcast last weekend. Unfortunately, I was not feeling so well, so we didn't manage to post a podcast, though Damon did add our regular weekly expression earlier on in the week. He looked at the phrase, to turn the game on its head, and this came from the WSL. That's the Women's Super League here in England. And he also explained the phrase, to snatch an equalizer. Check out both of those in our weekly football expression.
State ascoltando languagecaster.com.
Yes, you are listening to Language Caster, and that message was in Italian. And we are going to have more stingers or messages throughout the show. Which languages can you hear? Don't worry, we'll let you know what the languages are at the end of the show.
Hi, my name's David. I'm from London and I'm an Arsenal fan, and you're listening to languagecaster.com.
Now, I wonder how Damon in Tokyo is doing. Damon.
Hi there, Damien, and hello, everyone. I'm doing very well, thank you. Although the weekend has seen some rain, which might spoil the cherry blossom viewing for many people here in Japan. It won't spoil the feel-good factor, however, for fans of Japan's national team, who became the first non-host country to qualify for the World Cup after beating Bahrain 2-0 9 days ago, and followed that up with a 0-0 draw against Saudi Arabia, meaning they also sit top of their qualifying table by 7 points. Well done to the Samurai Blue.
Yes, congratulations to Japan for being the first team to qualify for the 2026 World Cup. They weren't the only side to do this over the recent international break. New Zealand qualified from Oceania. Argentina qualified from the South American Confederation, that's CONMEBOL, while Iran also qualified from the Asian Confederation. That means that there are now 7 countries who are assured of playing in the 2026 World Cup. The 4 qualified teams we have just mentioned, and of course the 3 host nations, Canada, Mexico, and the USA.
Hola a todos, estáis escuchando languagecaster.com.
Now, we have just heard about how 4 teams have qualified for the 2026 World Cup, and we'll be looking at this verb to qualify and some other similar meaning words later on in today's show. Did you hear the different words that follow the verb qualify? Qualify for and qualify from. Do you know what differences in meaning they have? We'll talk about that later on, and we will also have another part from our interview with Mark Bailey from hatrika.com. This time, he will be talking about one of his favorite players, Wayne Rooney. Then we also have some predictions. We'll be hearing from Damon and what he thought about last weekend's FA Cup games, and this is later on in the show.
languagecaster.com.
Now, at the start of the show, we heard how 4 teams have now qualified for the 2026 World Cup, in addition, of course, to the 3 co-hosts. We also asked what the difference is between qualify for and qualify from. Let's have a look at the examples again. Number 1. Congratulations to Japan for being the first team to qualify for the 2026 World Cup. Number 2. Argentina qualified from the South American Confederation, while Iran also qualified from the Asian Confederation. So, in the first example, we use for to show that Japan will take part in the upcoming tournament or finals, the 2026 World Cup. While in the second example, we can see how, or more accurately, from where, they have managed to do this. So, Argentina have qualified for the next World Cup as they have qualified from the South American group. Right, let's have a look at some other phrases to do with the verb to qualify. Here's an example from FIFA.com. Uzbekistan will secure their first ever World Cup finals place with a victory in either of their 2 remaining qualifiers. So here, the verb to secure is followed by place or spot or sometimes berth, and this means that they have made certain of their place at the finals next year. They have secured it. Here are a couple of examples from the BBC. Japan booked their ticket to the 48-team tournament with a 2-0 win over Bahrain. Japan have become the first nation to book their place in the 2026 World Cup through qualifiers by beating Bahrain 2-0 in Saitama. So, another way of saying that a team will play in a tournament after qualifying is to say that they have booked their ticket. This is similar to secure a spot, but the idea maybe is that there will be some form of travel overseas involved. To book their place also can be used, and this means that the team has reserved their place for the next stage of qualification. Here's another phrase that we use for qualify. Holders Argentina have reached next year's FIFA World Cup thanks to Bolivia's 0-0 draw at home to Uruguay on matchday 14 of South American qualifying, and this came from FIFA.com. The verb to reach is sometimes used to describe a team getting to the finals, and in this example we can see that Argentina have made it or qualified for the World Cup. They've reached the finals. Can you think of any other ways of saying this phrase, qualify for the finals? How about in a language that you know? What would you say?
Você está escutando languagecaster.com.
Now, you might remember that we spoke to Mark Bailey a couple of weeks ago from Hatrika. He spoke to us about his football language work. And here is another part of that interview. You might remember that Mark is a Manchester United fan, and one of the players he mentioned was Wayne Rooney. So here he is describing the type of player that Rooney was. You mentioned Wayne Rooney. How, for those people who might not know Wayne Rooney as a player, 1 or 2 words to describe Wayne Rooney?
So he's not the tallest player, but he was very physical, very strong. He was pretty fast as well. I mean, not like, say, Mbappe fast, but he was pretty fast. So for defenders, it was very hard for them to play against him with his strength. But also, he had really, really good technique as well. I mean, if you ever look on YouTube and look at some of his goals, I mean, he's got all kinds of goals. Quite a lot of goals from outside the box, with his free kicks, volleys. I think it's what he did in America, isn't it, where he did one from the halfway line, a big long-range shot from there. But yeah, really, really good technique. And as well, I think another real strength for Wayne Rooney is probably the mental side, that he had very, very good vision. So he really, really good at picking a pass. But also as well, he was very good at scoring important goals. So again, if you look on YouTube, there's his famous overhead kick for Manchester United against Manchester City. But that's a goal, that's a match-winning goal. He scored that near the end of the game, and I think the great players have that ability to score important goals at important times. So Ray Rooney wouldn't have the numbers, the number of goals that someone say like Ronaldo would have had, or certainly Messi. they got so many goals, but Wayne Rooney scored a lot of important goals at important times in matches.
Thanks a lot again to Mark for that. We heard that Rooney was strong, both physically and mentally, and he was also fast, and that he had good technique and vision. This word vision is an interesting way to describe a footballer. It suggests that the player can see lots of things around the pitch, maybe more than other players. They know where other players, both teammates and opponents, are on the pitch and can make decisions quite quickly compared to others. Mark also used the phrase to pick a pass, which means that a player passes the ball very well and suggests that a player has good technique, that's good control and skill, and they can make accurate passes over various distances to teammates. Another phrase that we have looked at in the past here at LanguageCaster is to pick out a teammate. While we also have lots of expressions connected to good passing, such as an inch-perfect pass, a through ball, or a slide rule pass. That's a really, really accurate pass. Now, can you think of other players who, like Wayne Rooney, have good vision? Or maybe can you think of any players who are physically strong? How about sending us some words to describe your favorite footballer? Drop us a line here at languagecaster.com or maybe add it to our forum.
Je luistert naar languagecaster.com.
Okay, next up we have our prediction section with Damon. Now, of course, these games have already taken place last weekend, so we can see how well or not Damon's predictions were. Let's start with the first FA Cup quarter-final, which involved Manchester City, who travelled to Bournemouth.
Thanks, Damien. Okay, we're going to start with 2 FA Cup quarter-finals in England, and this year's competition has seen most of the recent winners knocked out. Manchester United, Liverpool, Leicester, Arsenal, Chelsea. So there may be a less fancied team lifting the trophy in May. That will be more likely if Bournemouth can dump Manchester City out of the competition. City are the favourites to win the trophy. I think they might do it, but only via penalties. I think this quarter-final will be a 1-1 draw.
Not bad, Damon. You went for City, but after penalties, when in fact they won this 2-1 in the 90 minutes. Well done.
The next quarter-final is an all-London affair, so a London derby with Fulham hosting Crystal Palace. Palace are one of the form teams in the league. They've won 3 out of their last 4 matches. And although Fulham have home advantage, I think the Eagles, Crystal Palace, will advance to the semi-finals with a 2-1 win.
Well done again, Damon. You predicted a Palace win, and they did win, although they did so more comfortably than you thought. They won 3-0.
And to finish, let's have another derby. This is the Seville derby between Betis and Sevilla in La Liga, El Gran Derby. This is one of the most passionate derbies in Spain. Betis are pushing for a berth in Europe next season, and I think this will give them the edge in this match. A home 1-0 win to Betis.
Oh my days, well done again, Damon. You went for a Betis win, and they did win. The first time they have defeated their neighbours Sevilla in 7 years to end their derby drought. They did win 2-1, but you managed to get a point for the right result. Well done.
Vous écoutez languagecaster.com.
Right, let's have a look at a couple of the big games from this weekend, including the Manchester derby on Sunday. United host City, and I think the Red Devils will lose again at home, maybe 2-1 to City. Barcelona against Betis. So we've already mentioned Betis after their wonderful victory over Sevilla last weekend, but I don't think they will get anything from their visit to La Liga leaders Barcelona. I think this will be an easy victory for in-form Barca, maybe 3-0. What do you think of those predictions? Let us know what you think might happen in those or indeed any other games over the weekend. And how do you think your team will do this weekend?
皆さんは languagecaster.com を聞いています。
Right, remember to contact us via email at admin@languagecaster.com if you have any questions about the language of football or if you have some feedback on our podcast. Check out our website at languagecaster.com and explore our football language forum, where you can ask and answer questions about all kinds of football language. There is also our huge glossary of football terms with hundreds of expressions, phrases, and cliches about the beautiful game. And finally, please help us by spreading the word about our podcast and our site. Give us a like and follow us on social media platforms like Instagram, Facebook, Blue Sky, YouTube, and more.
Bạn đang nghe languagecaster.com.
Yes, you are listening to LanguageCaster, and that message or stinger was in Vietnamese. We have also heard stingers in Dutch, Japanese, Bemba from Zambia, French, Spanish, and some Portuguese from Brazil. So well done if you are able to recognize any of those languages. And thanks everyone for listening today. Remember that we looked at phrases around the verb to qualify, including to reach and to book, or to secure a place in the finals. Let us know if you hear these phrases while watching any football this week, in any language, of course. Congratulations again to the 4 qualifiers. We'd love to hear from fans from Iran, Argentina, Japan, and New Zealand. Maybe you could record us a stinger for the show. Enjoy all the football this week. There are some huge Champions League matches taking place, and of course, my fingers will be crossed when my favourite team Spurs face Eintracht Frankfurt in the Europa League quarter-final first leg on Thursday. I'm not too confident. And we'll be back soon with a new football expression early on next week. Bye-bye.
Enjoy all the football this week, ta-ra.